is one of the critters from Epsilon Eridani, and I make
How you doing, Rick?
a wing nut to hold the wheels on the axle. Make them out of African blackwood, and they aren't magnetic either. About 2 months ago, I dropped one. I don't know why. I had it downstairs. I was rebuffing it, refinishing it or something, and dropped the African blackwood wing nut into the shavings. And so that was that. And so this last week we were supposed to do something. I don't do much of it. So I made another wing nut. And the wing nut was my third wing nut I'd ever made. Two of them are represented here, and there was a third. I also made, I don't know what you call them, a wood wing screw. Would you call it that? Okay. And I made 1.5 of those. The half is half because I haven't done the, you turn them around, right? Like you turn an outline of an apple or a cross or whatever, and then you just cut the sides off and it becomes something. Well, I've done 1.5 of those now. And so I lost the wing nut, and today when I was walking out to the car, I dropped it. Yeah. Axle, I couldn't figure out. I build these things on the fly. I don't design them ahead of time, and so I broke a little. I don't know what they call it. It's the opposite of all thread. It's an all tube or something, right? And so this is how I attach the wheels. The little screw on the end of the axle there. Couldn't figure out any other way to keep a continuous axle on it all the way across. So that was one. And so you guys know I carved some pipes, and they call them carving, but they aren't really. They're just shaping the outside of the sanding belt or something. And so I have I turned a chess set several years ago. I like the chess set. It's very nice. And of course, the chess set isn't complete without 4 knights, which I don't like to do very much. I've got another black one in here somewhere. And I have not finished it. What I've discovered is I do the outsides of things fairly well, but I don't do the insides. Like the mouth has to be cut into the wood, and it's not really exposed anywhere. And so these are still works in progress. I did part of them. And just so that you know, I plan ahead. I have 4 more ready when these prove themselves to be failures. I think they're already failures, but I'm going to finish them just so that I can have something to set up with my chess set. So I made 6 of these blocks, and they're designed to work with all thread. You put a base, you drill chase a hole in the bottom also, and then use all thread to screw it together. So when you stretch yourself, it doesn't always work the first time.
All right, something that I'd never done. I made a gavel. So what am I going to do with it? We're just going to have to elect me to the judgeship, and then I'll have something to bang and say, order in the court.
Order.
Or I can say, sold to the gentleman in the front row. It was fun doing it. Thank you.
I took Cindy Drozda's online class for a sea urchin box. And it still has a lid that goes on. It's a finial lid, but that didn't get finished. But this took more effort on measuring and fitting than I'm accustomed to doing. So I figured this qualified. This is a sea urchin shell. It's been rounded out. Then you make the base and put a hole in it to have a tenon go into. So it comes out like this. Reviewing her tape after I've done this, she opens her shell quite a bit more than this. But in this size, you could do it as a box or you could do it as a candlestick.
So about 2 years ago, I had some trees taken down, or I had a tree taken down, and it was some kind of oak. It was very tall and thin, though it didn't branch out. I think it was some kind of hybrid. And when he cut it down, I had the stump was about this tall, and I said, "Leave me that stump and cut it down at the ground as close to as you can." And he cut it really close to the ground, and I had a piece that was about this tall. And it sat under a bush, and I told him, I'll split it in half and then I'll quarter it, just leave me the stump. Well, it was big enough, I couldn't hardly even pick it up. I could roll it across the yard, and I rolled it under a place where I knew it would be shaded, and I thought I'd get to it, in a couple of days. And 2 years later, my neighbor was asking if he could borrow my chainsaw to cut some stuff up, and I said, "Yeah, that no problem." I said, "When you're done, let me know." I was wanting somebody to spot me when I cut this log in half so I could get started on this thing. And he brought back the chainsaw and he said, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna cut that in half for you." So I didn't actually have to do anything except split it. And this is 1/4 of what I had. It did have the bark. It was cut in the summer, and so the bark was, besides the age of the wood, the soft spongy part of the bark was just chipping away and was about to gone. So there was no saving the bark. So I just basically broke it all away there was about maybe an 1/8 inch of that real soft spongy stuff left around the top. Well, I thought, well, that'll burn easy because it was, you could pick it apart with your fingernails and stuff. And so I scorched across that, and it would burn the top of it, and it would kind of start to fire and burn down, but it wouldn't get into this wood and scorch this wood at all. So I accomplished what I was after. Number one, getting to that piece of wood that's been sitting there for 2 years waiting for me to get to it. And then number two, in trying to get that burned edge and trying to maintain the contrast between the edge and the wood part itself. So I was real happy. I did push it, literally cut this last Wednesday and turned it. So I got some wobble going on. I had a couple of cracks that were wanting to form that I was trying to stay on top of. I don't know what'll happen in the end, but with a live edge, especially this kind of live edge, I think it can do whatever it wants, and I'll still enjoy it. So.
Well, I've had a fun week since I've been in town. Spent a couple of days with Anthony and then today with Bill. And usually I turn bowls, but I decided to do some multi-axis turning. So this was the beginning of a scoop. Actually, this was the first one, but now it kind of looks like a little alien kind of looking out at you. Had trouble getting it back on the lathe to be able to hollow was the second attempt, which then I didn't get to hollowing it out, but I figured I would hollow it out and make it a wine glass. And then tried a Christmas tree, multi-axis also, which didn't lean a whole lot, but for a first attempt, I was happy. And then I've been wanting to make a pepper grinder. And so Bill actually turned this and walked me through all the steps. So what I need to do now is to take it home and finish it. So, I mean, I haven't done any of this before, so it was a good week. I learned a lot. So thanks to Anthony and to Bill for helping me.
Bill, this is winter. Have too many assistants from it. You kick your own, I have to have you throw it back in. Number is last 30 numbers. 1, 2, 3. 581. All right. And you are the winner of 2, and they work in that. Choose your card. That's right.
So if you brought something up for show and tell, now is the time. Let's see what you got.
I went to SWAT and saw 3 demonstrators using a spear point scraper. And, you know, that's pretty cool. Stuart Batty has negative range scrapers. And what I saw was these guys really look like, I mean, it's a finesse tool. And to get in like around a bowl or a bead on a bowl. Anyway, I had this 1 1/4 inch piece of steel, that just a black steel that I had from Doug Thompson. And I wanted some more of these. Anyway, but SWAT, I went by and asked him, he had all of his tools laid out and everything except the 1 1/4 inch scraper. And he said, I'm not going to carry those anymore. Well, why? He said, I can't get the material. He said, I've got to spend $29,000 to buy a 100-pound block of this 10% vanadium, alloy steel from Crusoe. And he said, I just don't sell that many of them. He said, it'd take forever for me to get rid of them and everything. He said, at this point in my career and everything, I didn't want to invest another, $29,000 that I may or may not ever get my money out of. Okay, so I went to Carter and Sons, and they didn't have them like this. Cindy Groza had one that she got from Doug Thompson some time ago, but it was sold. And so anyway, if anyone, the nice thing about this scraper is, like I say, you can use either side of it, and I have crowned. These are perfectly straight. They're crowned a little bit so you don't engage the whole edge in when you're doing it. But short handle, it's a finesse tool, and I'll pass this around so you can take a look at it. But it's a 25-degree angle on here, and everyone says for the to work right, the included angle has to be less than 50 degrees or less. So this way, I can set my grinder up, and when the burr is worn off on this side or something, I can just turn it over and grind the other side, and not have to reset my platform. So anyway, I like using it, and if you haven't tried a negative range scraper, it can get you. It can heal you in a lot of ways. I mean, rather than just removing some tool marks and everything, you can actually do some fine shaping with it and everything. And they're virtually impossible to get a catch on, and it leaves just an incredibly smooth finish. So if you haven't tried it, I recommend it. You've probably already seen it, but if you don't pass that around.
If you're really suicidal, you can use it as an excuse. If you're really that way. Yeah.
Mike, I got in trouble at AAW by an 11-year-old because I pulled out a scraper during a demo. So be careful where you pull out a scraper, Because when your demo says you're going to do the entire thing with gouges and then you pull out a scraper to show why you don't need the scraper, the 11-year-old will call you out on it. I did get heckled. I know his mom though, so it's okay. I'm going to talk about this next meeting. This is the Microclimate Air 3 respirator. It is very nice. I've been using it for a couple of months now. They sent it to me because I have a beard and glasses. And I know a few people in Utah. It's made in Utah. And so I've been trying it out, testing it out. But if anyone is interested in finding out more, let me know. I put these little cards together with a little link to their website. And if you buy one with my code, you can get 10% off your purchase of a respirator. We'll talk more about it next week because we don't have a ton of time right now, or next month. But yeah, I'll bring it and let me know if you have any questions about it. And please grab a card if you'd like one.
Has it got a tank that goes with that or a motor to pull? Is it all? I didn't see it. It looked like there's anything there. That's pretty compact.
I brought a couple things. I turned this last week. It was my third attempt, so I blew 2 up. So I said shoot twice. And then I got this one to work. Anyway, it's to represent live oak leaves, but the wood I used was cedar on this because I blew up the maple one and the other one. The stand I made years ago at Aeromont. I took a forging class and we got 3 feet of iron rod. We were to make a stand, and a couple other people made something that looked like a tripod stand that you use for a Bunsen burner, and I came up with this to put spheres on. This piece I made several years ago, and they kind of go together. This represents red oak because it's got pointed leaves, and it's made out of red oak. And it was to be a bowl through a small opening, this opening, and it blew up. So I made the lid and I kept the small opening which had the natural bark on it. And then I turned an acorn and then I threaded it because I took Anthony's threading class years ago. Yes. And then I had a little acorn.
Yes.
Out in the woods. Whoa, good save, good save. Anyway, boat broke it on Monday night. So those are my 2 boat pieces. And I was happy because that's
Just a minute. Wait a minute. I'll be there in a second.
No.
Well, I did blow 2 up. I was going to bring the pieces in and I forgot them. So anyway, thank you.
So bring the mic to you. Yeah.
I have to make different things all the time, even sourdough bread. And those are 2 different ones, so there's still one available. This is a bowl that was turned green out of walnut, and I use milk paint. I think milk paint. This milk paint is probably 15 years old, and it still works great. I don't know of any other finish you could buy that's 15 years old and it's still going to work. The Egyptians loved it. Here's another milk paint, and then I did some carving on it. This happens to be cherry. It also was turned green. The key when you turn things green, if you're going to do contrasting colors, you have to make a small little cut that will allow you to then, once it's dried, to go back and paint and not overlap. It helps differentiate both sides of the line, so to speak. This piece is Bradford pear, old Bradford pear, and it's called a twice turn.
double turned hollow form. And so the way that is done is, you turn a cylinder and then you part it at about a third, 2/3. So it's parted right here. And so then I can hollow, because I've got a chuck on this side, and I'm a tendon and a tendon on this side. So I'm hollowing this way and I'm hollowing down this way. It's a little heavy for me, but it was because there were cracks right in here. And I didn't want to see what happened to Larry happen to me with this thing flying apart. Something new that I have not ever done, and it could have gone on the challenge table. This is a piece of copper that I patinaed. This is eggshell, and so I cut the groove, the perfect depth of an eggshell. But where I made the mistake was I had to use black gesso, first paint that on, and then I had to use some special glue to hold the eggshell, and that thickness ended up being thicker, and so it wasn't smooth, right? This eggshell was actually a home chicken egg where it was green. They have blue eggs and green eggs and brown eggs. This is actually green, but I had to sand it to try and get it smooth, and I sanded all the green off. This is probably one of the most fun turnings that I do, and that is turning a coconut. You just go to the store and you got to find a coconut. The key is to try and find as round a coconut as you can, and that's hard to do because you turn the outside first. And if it's not round, you're going to go through that coconut. So I ended up leaving some of the coconut husk on there, and I painted it yellow just because I wanted it to kind of blend in with the yellow on the inside. And then I can't remember what kind of wood this is. This might be spalted. I don't know if it's hackberry or spalted. Yeah, I think it's hackberry. And so then you just turn that part, and this is all finished with Parfix. This is Parfix. Maybe an acrylic, and maybe an acrylic. So anyway, you know what? This is carved. It's all carved with a reciprocating carver. Starts with a P.
Power Tech?
No.
No.
And it gets hot. It's sold by King Arthur. No, what's the name of it? Camelot. There we go. No, it can't remember the name. But anyway, you use a V cut, and they got these round. Pardon me? No, but I have one of those. So yeah, that took me a while, but and then you just do the two-tone. You do the black and then the other color, and then you got to sand it off. And anyway, that's my story.
So I had some Bradford pear that had been sitting outside the house since a few storms ago. And I decided I'd seen David Ellsworth. We did a live stream of David Ellsworth with David Ellsworth one time, and he had taken a log and thrown it on and ultimately turned his spear. And I was real impressed with how he did it. I don't know if I followed that same pattern, but I was trying to kind of duplicate that. And I used the Bradford pear piece that I had, it was basically kind of two branches that were coming up. So it ended up with this, what I thought looked like a smile. And I couldn't just leave it there. So I had to give it character.
You pay?
Like that. That's my sunglasses holder now. I thought it was more fun like that than it did like. Oh, yeah. Sometimes you just gotta go with your idea. One of those guys on a mountain. Actually, the sheriff was, but it took me about 3 hours to cover the nose.
So I made this one today. This is a piece of briar. It's the same wood you make pipes out of. It's actually a burl of the white heath tree. This particular material, I don't remember if it grew in Spain, certainly around the Mediterranean, because that's where the pipe makers get their briar. And it's, I don't know what it's called. They used to buy the balls that you could do this with, little fidget thingies. And these were, I bought these 25 years ago at Epstein's, which is a hardware store downtown. And their military surplus, I was told they were tank ball bearings, tank turret ball bearings. It's interesting, they come in a very thick, what do you call it? Aluminum foil with cosmoline inside. And each one goes in its own aluminized canvas bag. And you get 5 of those in a bigger aluminized canvas bag. And it had 63, 65 as the year when it was bagged. I had some little ones and I had some big ones, and I made a container for each one of them. And I haven't decided I had these left over, and so I had to make, that's what I had.
Big field.
Well, we're 6 months into knee surgery recovery, and I think it's gonna take 4 more at least. And maybe that makes it a year. Anyway, long story short, the little second piece I got is a piece of koi that came from Hawaii, obviously, because that's the only place it grows. And I have a friend that is in the process of working an import on the cut wood that they get when they thin the forest. So I don't know the rest of the story because I've never had koi before, but it's just done with an epoxy finish. And so he's going to have wholesale options to sell the koi he gets from the thinning of the trees. And on occasion, when a tree goes down, they are able to cut that up. If it's down, I guess there's a prohibition on exporting koi. I don't know the rest of the story. But if anybody has long-term interest in wholesale connection to koi, someday it may be available. Well, this piece was a burl I got. It's a version of maple, and I've tried to incorporate both making a pattern with build leaf back and glue and, you know, fixing it so I could cast it, and then outside of it you cast. And I didn't have to do anything to put the clear coat on the inside. So this was cast or coated twice. I found that on some epoxy coating, it soaks into the wood real good initially, and then it says, I'm not going any more. You're not getting any more in the wood. And until you take it and sand it and work it back smooth again, then the second coat will stick on. So I have no clue what's going on with the epoxy, but it will not stick after you've given it one coat. So anyway, I thought, and then the other thing I thought interesting about this is that the bark that's on the thing is to eat the bark very good and just sort of bury the bark with it and it comes out eventually, you know, attractive. So I'm happy with it.
Before you go, is there a story to that burl like you almost have for all the other girls you've bought? Any particular interesting thing? Where'd you get that from?
Oh, gosh. It was removed from a dead tree. And besides that, I can't remember where it came from, other than it could have come from Interstate 70 out by Napoleon, Missouri, where I grew up. And so that'll have to do for life history.
Thank you, David.